coaches or coordinators who might be on the move or looking for a new destination. Eddie, I'll let you handle this
Yeah.
because
So
this is your favorite subject.
it is, and it's always this time of year. Guys are on the hot seat. We've already had one firing or two firings. We've already had uh I forget his name. Fire. Oh,
Dennis
Dennis
Allen.
Allen from the Saints. But we keep on hearing these names. Now, Rafa, I just want to go through this list real quick of potential spots. There's 7 or 8. We know Saints are one of them for sure. Dennis Allen canned already. Okay. Now, tell me what you think a percentage is on these guys possibly getting fired. Next one is Mike McDaniels from the Dolphins. Where do you think? Because his name's coming up as being on the hot seat.
I don't think he gets fired. I
Okay.
don't think he gets fired. Tua being hurt, I think affects him. I don't think he gets fired. And to be honest with you, I think they're going to finish the season strong.
In
So
the
I
cold, I mean that's exactly what they never done.
well, I think they're I think they're going to finish stronger than what they started. That's what I think.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I don't think he gets fired. That's my
Okay.
opinion. I think Tua getting hurt is a big part of that.
The next one, which I also listen, I don't agree with these. Well, there's some I do agree with, but this next one I don't agree with is the Cleveland Browns and Stefanski. Last year he was considered. Was he the coach of the year, or he was considered to be one of the candidates? I know that, but how can you blame him with the shit show situation at quarterback?
Yeah, and they have injuries at offensive line, and they had injuries at running back, and Nick Chubb's back, and they traded away Amari Cooper, and yeah, that they did all that after they were shit. But
Mhm.
I think you can't fire him. I don't think he gets fired either.
Okay. Next on the list, which I think is going to be fired because I would fire this GM, and GMs like to hire their own coaches, is Brian Dable from the Giants. Another situation that was created by them, right? Brian Dable is a supposed quarterback guru. He had to have signed off on bringing Daniel Jones back. How safe do you think Brian Dable's job is
This is
in New
one of
York?
those. This is those ones where he's in the hot seat for sure. I think it's like you said. If they fire GM, I think GM's going to bring in his own head coach.
Yeah,
So I can see him fired, but I can see him landing a job right away. Not a head coaching job, but he'll get a job right away.
yeah. All right. Well, this next one is one of the no-brainers, and that is Mr. Eberflus from the Chicago Bears. Like, I don't know if you saw his press conference last year, but or last week. This is a no-brainer. I cannot believe that it hasn't happened already, to be honest with you. What are your odds on Eberflus at this point staying, you know,
Well,
in
listen, this is the problem with the Bears, and it's sad that it happened, but it's happened to the Bears now with their last three first round quarterbacks that they've drafted. Mitchell Trubisky, and they fired the head coach. Justin Fields, and they fire the head coach. Caleb Williams, and they're more than likely going to fire Eberflus here, and the Bears. And it's unfortunate because he deserves to be fired. I thought he shouldn't have been brought back, um,
Mhm.
but he was. So and you're firing him. You're going to fire him, and now you will have the same that you had with the previous two first rounders, which
Yeah.
was Trubisky and Justin Fields. That they will now have a second year. Their second season will be with a new head coach and 99.9% with a new offensive coordinator. So you're
It's
taking a second year
crazy.
quarterback with a new coach and a new coordinator. And the Bears, they should have thought this thing through before the season. Like, hey, you know what? Let's just move on from him, and we'll take Caleb and the new or whoever the new guy wants. It's Jaden Daniels. Was it Caleb? Was it Bo Nix or Drake May? Whatever it was, let that coach choose who he wanted. And now you're stuck because you're stuck with Caleb, which is fine. But now Caleb's getting a new coach, more than likely, and he's getting a new coordinator. And the Bears have done this now three different first round. They're three quarterbacks in a row,
Now,
and basically, and if you don't fire them, you're making a mistake.
Eddie Money gave me a list of names and potential candidates. I want to directly attach a name to the Chicago Bears, which I think would solve this issue, what you're just talking about. What if you stole Cliff Kingsbury from Washington and made him the head coach in Chicago and reunite Caleb Williams and Kingsbury, who, they worked together at USC, Heisman Trophy. It would be a nice transition. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Cliff Kingsbury being a great head coach, but if I'm Chicago and I want to maximize, you had the curse of the quarterback. To me, this makes a lot of sense.
Well, and you have to remember he interviewed for that job. That's the first interview that he had. Was the Bears offensive coordinator job. So
yeah,
that was his first interview, and then he, they did the Raider thing, and then when he saw that the Raiders were going to take two white quarterbacks who can't do shit, he's moved on, and
Ayanada.
he moved on to the Redskins, which has looked great. But
Yeah.
is he an NFL head coach? In my opinion, no. I think Cliff Kingsbury is a college offensive minded head coach for college. I think he's an NFL offensive coordinator. Phenomenal. I think that's what he is.
Okay.
So
the next one seems very likely, and a lot of people are surprised that it has not happened. And that's Doug Peterson with the Jaguars. A lot of people thought that would be the first guy to leave. What's your thoughts on, or what's your percentage on Doug Peterson getting canned in Jacksonville?
High percentage, 95%. He should be gone. And the only reason he's still there is because Trevor Lawrence is hurt, and so they can do it. But anyways, there's still 6-7 games left in the season. Yeah. There's no point in letting them go now. Might as well just wait. It's not like you have somebody there and waiting that you can maybe. He'll be fired on Black Monday as well, I think.
Okay, let's bring Eddie Money back into the picture for this one, because there's breaking news today. The next one is near and dear to Eddie Money and myself's heart, and that is Antonio Pierce with the Raiders. And if you can go into a interview that Antonio Pierce gave today, and it's all over, every single Raider content creator has brought it up. Go ahead, Eddie Money, talk about it.
Well, the interview guy or person basically just asked, like, yo, what are your thoughts going into this week? And he said, well, let's be real. It's the worst team versus the best team. He's like, let's just straight out with it. There's no sugarcoating, no nothing.
It's not a lie, okay? But he just admitted that he is the head coach of the worst team in the NFL. How? I mean, it's not like he's the ball boy. It's not like he's the equipment manager. He is, the buck stops with him. He's just.
Yeah, I think he's lost the team.
Yeah.
After that comment, you've lost the team. Like, I think you feel it in the locker room. You feel it at practice. I think making that comment, I think he feels like, oh, these guys don't believe in me anymore. And you know what? That's probably what it is. And to be honest with you, I told you guys last year, I don't think he's an NFL head coach. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that he's ready to be an NFL head coach. They gave him that job because they made a mistake the last time around in not keeping their interim or whatever you want to call it. And a lot of Raider fans complained or whatever. But you got to move on. You need to blow the whole thing up on the offensive side of the ball and blow the whole thing up and have a head coach who's going to get a quarterback and that he's going to want and that he's going to be able to work with. So I think Antonio Pierce, Black Monday, is another one that will be fired.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Also, did you see his quote? I think it was after the last game where he was like, I forgot how many times we threw the ball, but he was like, I hated how much we threw the ball. And all the comments were like, aren't you the head coach? Do something about it.
Yeah. Like, it's freaking crazy. He continually, when they ask him about he's like, well, we have to go upstairs and look at, like, it's more and more. It just shows that, like what Rafa said, it's too big for him. You have to drive more than an Impala. You have to be more than a motivator to be an NFL head coach, because these guys are professionals, right?
Right. And they're men.
And they're men. So last two, we just talked about it. Mike McCarthy, percentage-wise, Rafa, with the Cowboys.
I think he gets fired on Black Monday as well. I think it's a mistake if you don't fire him. I thought last year you needed to pick and choose whether it was Dak or whether it was McCarthy, and to give. And what I said was, and what I meant by it was either Dak or McCarthy. And at the end of the day, Dak was top 5 in every statistical stat last year. And so what I meant was, I think you need to change one of the two, right? So if you change McCarthy, you still have Dak. And if you change Dak, you give McCarthy another chance with another quarterback. But at the end of the day, McCarthy has to go. Like, you can just see him on the sideline. Like, there's plays, shit goes wrong, and he's just like, he looks like a whiny little kid who he's like, his face like, oh, mom, like that's what his face looks like. And so I think McCarthy will also be fired on Black Monday.
All right. And last one, who you've been ahead of the curve on and said this before I heard anyone say it, is Zach Taylor with the Bengals. Do you think his job is in jeopardy?
Man, everybody, we can keep blaming the defense, but I still think there's certain games where the offense has struggled. And yes, he leads the league in yards and pass yards or whatever. But there's certain stretches of the game where the offense disappears. You saw it the first half of the Charger game where the offense disappeared. You saw it against the Eagles in the first half at home. Like, there's certain games where it disappears. And who's going to take accountability at this point for a team with this much talent? And it can't be Joe Burrow, because we see what he's done. But it is now back-to-back years of underachievement, of complete underachievement. And I know realistically, and it may not be that this year, but we know, and if you watch the NFL and you don't believe that the AFC North is the best division in football, top to bottom, year in and year out, then you don't enjoy the NFL. You're a fan of whatever team it is. But it is 99.9% of the time, the AFC North is the toughest, the best, top to bottom. And so it's a tough division, yes, but you've underachieved in the last 2 years when you have arguably one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the league and arguably one of the 2 best receivers in the league. It's not like you don't have shit. No, you have a superstar quarterback and a superstar wide receiver. You can say, and I'm not saying they are who these people are, but I'm saying you have a Joe Montana and a Jerry Rice. You have a Peyton Manning and a Marvin Harrison, or Peyton Manning and Reggie Wayne. You have that. You have that. Patrick Mahomes doesn't. Josh Allen doesn't have that. Herbert doesn't have that. So you have that, and you have done nothing with it. At least in the last 2 years, you've pretty much been irrelevant in the playoff picture, and someone needs to take the blame, and I believe it's Zach Taylor. If I'm Ben Johnson and that job is open, the Cowboy job is fucking all the glitz and glamour of the Cowboys head coach and all of that. But if you get down to it and we're looking at all the jobs, and that's one, Mr. Ben Johnson, you should be the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals if it's open. There should be no debate about it. If Ben Johnson and that job is available, that is your job, and you can have it. I guarantee you can have it whenever you want. And you have superstar and superstar. That is what you have. You're not rebuilding. It's star.
I like it a lot. That's a great pairing. Rafa.